So my name is Daphne Maki, and I would say my top creative outlets would be I do a lot of acrylic paintings, and I also write and help produce original music.
That's so cool. I didn't see the introduction as well. That's awesome.
Thank you.
How did you learn all the production stuff?
So I for my first album that I did, I worked with this guy named Eric Hoffer.
Mhm.
And so when I worked with him to produce my first album, it was kind of like it was very personal, and I got to be like, I want this sound, and he would show me how to make certain sounds, and he was also really good at a bunch of different instruments. So I would kind of be like, I want it to sound like this, and then he would kind of play something, and then I'd be like, yeah, or change this. And so it was kind of like I got to learn through him while making that. And now I'm in the midst of recording my second album, and I'm working with two high school seniors actually currently. And they are going to school for music production.
Mhm.
So I've gotten to go to an actual studio, and that has taught me a lot.
Yeah, I've always thought music production is super fascinating, but I know absolutely nothing about it. I have no terminology. It's kind of nice to have someone else take care of the technical aspect, and you have
Yeah,
sort of the
yeah,
creative control over the sound. Yeah,
yeah. The technical aspect is very complicated.
right. So you said you're working on your second album, which is super exciting. Do you feel like it's different than your first one? How do you feel I guess you're progressing as an artist?
So I would say it's very different from my first album. I started my first album when I was 16, I think. So I'm almost 20, so 4 years.
Yeah.
Just kind of the music sound that I'm going for. And my first album was very acoustic based, I would say.
Mhm.
So a lot of it was kind of my own acoustic guitar playing as the background. And I think as my music taste and my own music style has evolved, this next album is less of an acoustic singer songwriter, and I'd say more of an indie pop sound, and less of having an acoustic base. And I would also say I mean, personally, I think as I've grown up, I've gotten a lot more focused on my lyrics,
Mhm.
and I've gotten a lot more into poetry and writing poems and kind of forming songs off of pre-existing poems.
Mhm.
So I think that I lyrically, I am really proud of the album that I'm working on right now. Not that I think the first album is necessarily bad lyrically, but I think that I've improved a lot on my creative writing.
Mhm.
So I think I'm really proud of the lyrics that I have for this new album.
What has your experience been now that we're under quarantine and um, you've kind of had this roadblock
Yeah.
imposed mid-project? So what has that been like?
I mean, quarantine has affected a lot of things about it, because originally I was planning on having it released in April,
Mhm.
and I had a release show at Honey in Minneapolis, or I think it's in Minneapolis. Yeah,
Uh, uh,
I had a release show April 26th. That was gonna
oh
be when I
no.
released the album and playing it all and have this live show. So obviously that had to get canceled. And with quarantine, the place that I record with, their names are Ethan and Noah Dietz.
Mhm.
Um, I recorded with them at IPR in downtown Minneapolis. It's a music recording school, and that closed down, so we couldn't use those studios anymore.
Mm.
So right now, I am working with them literally via text, and they'll send me like a download of one of my songs of kind of the background music tracks,
Mhm.
and I just kind of have to listen to it and then try to explain what I want changed. And we've had a few Zoom meetings where we kind of talk about what kind of sound I want for songs that we haven't worked on completed yet.
Mhm.
So I mean, it's a lot of change because it's trying to figure out how to express your creative like roadmap for your songs via like text,
Right.
which can sometimes be really hard to explain in words without being like, I want it to sound like that,
Yeah, I can
and have to
imagine.
write, yeah. So it's been hard, but I think that we're working it out pretty well, and they're really good communicators, which is really helpful.
Yeah. It's interesting to see how like different kind of artists or different kinds of artists are having to adapt right now, and it's like on the one hand, I think a lot of us like across all kinds of art forms are really like frustrated with the limitations right now.
Yeah,
At the same time, we're sort of realizing like just how much we can do with the technology we have, and like it doesn't
yeah.
necessarily mean that we can't create anymore. Um, so do you feel like um, I know some people feel like they kind of went into quarantine thinking that they would like create more than they ended up doing, um, and maybe like have experienced like creative blocks or just have not been like interested as much in pursuing their art form. And then there's other people who have almost like on the other end of the spectrum have been like all in and have been like putting a lot of their time into their
Yeah.
art form, and like definitely like wherever you like fall on that spectrum, it's like valid, and like everyone's experiences in quarantine have been different. But what do you feel like that's been like for you?
I would say that it's definitely shifted as like obviously we've been in quarantine for 2 months now.
Mm.
So I think it's definitely shifted. At first, I think that I was just really scared of everything going on, and I was just really overwhelmed. And I felt like I was kind of in a creative block because I was just like so scared and like didn't understand what was happening and kind of was just like confused.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like as time went on and I kind of realized like you have the power to do whatever you feel like you need to do to protect yourself and to like protect your mental health during this time. I kind of like took a step back and realized like what like in regular normal life, I feel like free time is such like a gift. Like when we're in school full time and you have meetings all the time and appointments and all of this stuff, like you don't have all this free time that we're getting right now to like participate in your hobbies and or do something that you've always wanted to do or like cook dinner all the time.
Right.
So I feel like once I was like you can view it as an opportunity to have like all of this free time that you most likely won't have ever again. Then I started really getting into my hobbies. So I think like once I really started getting into my paintings and songwriting, and like when I would take time for the day and paint or write, it made me feel like still productive and like I was doing something that I love to do, and like not necessarily getting something done, quote unquote, but like doing something that I love to do in my free time. And now that I have all this time to do it, it was like exciting that I could like have something to show that I like did.
I love that. I love that you've like been creating more. Do you feel like this experience of creating during quarantine has taught you something about yourself as an artist that you maybe wouldn't have really realized before? Or um, has it kind of given you, because we have a lot of time to just like think right now, to just be,
Yeah.
has it given you any sort of clarity on like your motivation or your future goals, or kind of like why you do what you do at all?
I feel like I have really gotten to know myself and like why I like create and why like how I use my creativity, and it's often like out of a place of anxiety or fear that I want to create something because it just gives me like the power and control back where like I get to have all of the power of what I'm creating. I think that subconsciously I like create things that make me feel calm and are like this like alternate reality of what I like want in a painting kind of or in a song.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I think that I like have just realized how much of my like subconscious relies on my creative outlets.
Right. It's like
Mhm.
crazy how much you like just learn and realize about yourself when you have this time to just sit there
Yeah,
and do nothing.
literally.
Okay, last thing I wanted to ask. You have like sneak peek about your album, or like is there like are there like themes that you're talking about, or is there like maybe an overarching theme, or like what people can expect? You kind of talked about like what people can expect musically, but like maybe more like lyrically or thematically.
Yeah. I mean, definitely like more poetic lyrics, like I had mentioned. Like I think there's definitely springtime poetic themes, I would say.
Mhm.
And I write a lot about like nature and space and like I have this is a sneak peek. I have a song called I Wish I Was in the Clouds. So it's very like I would say the lyrics and sound are both like very dreamy and like nostalgic, and like I would feel like the sound for this album is very like indie, dreamy, like bedroom pop.
Mhm.
So it's like I like the sound when it's not overly produced and it kind of sounds like you could produce it in your bedroom, but like very well.
Like Clairo vibes.
Yes, exactly. Literally
Yes.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes,
sort of that
I love
kind of
that.
like, yeah, that genre of music, I would say.
Yeah. Yay! I'm so excited to hear it. And hopefully, if there's another release concert, I can go to that because I've been like trying to come to your concerts, but
No,
it hasn't worked out. But it's
I
gonna
mean,
happen.
it will, yeah, I'm definitely going to try to reschedule it whenever everything calms down and it's safe to have
Hmm.
a little concert. But yeah, I think that I'm hoping that I can have it be released by the end of the summer.
Hmm.
So it should be soon. I'm on the last few songs. So
Yay! That's awesome. Okay.